The Afrikaans part of my background meant that I was raised first in the Dutch Reformed Church in Namibia, later in South Africa, and that the teaching that I was brought up with was a very strong Calvinistic one. That teaching taught me one thing, and that was very sure, that homosexuality was probably the greatest sin in the world. That was a problem for me as I discovered my sexual identity probably at the age of 10 or 11, when I knew that I, as a young boy, was attracted to other people of my gender. And while I was training for priesthood, I was introduced to a young lady who I figured it was my responsibility to marry because homosexuality was not allowed. We got married. It was a very sad and destroying marriage for both of us. And later I got divorced. Soon after I was divorced, I met a wonderful man who, a year later, I then came to live with. That's where the Mokgethi comes from. 2 years ago, we were married. But we married knowing both of us were HIV positive. HIV is something which entered into our lives because messages that had been given about HIV were not messages that were useful to us as individuals. I was told that the best prevention strategy was the ABC strategy. A, abstain. Well, I had until I got married. B, be faithful. Yes, I was faithful. So I knew I didn't need to use a condom. The gaps are gaps that I fell into and that many other faith community leaders and congregation members fall into all the time. So while we were living together, the church was very affirming of us. My congregation knew that we were together. And nobody had an issue because nobody went to complain to the bishop. The minute that we chose to make a commitment to each other, the church had to say, this is not a sin that can be repented of in the morning. And so, I lost my license. The reason I give you that as a background is to try and show you the gaps that people of the faith community fall into because of the faith community's understanding and perception of sexuality and particularly of homosexuality. While faith communities juggle their own moral dilemmas in terms of dealing with sexuality, particularly homosexuality, they must be aware that there are lives that are destroyed, that there are lives of people who are driven from faith communities because even though they are people of great faith, they do not find the solace and protection that they have come to hope for within faith communities. The challenge that comes for me out of this summit is to recognize that reality and know that while we dilly-dally, we destroy lives and place people in vulnerability. Thank you.